Good, Etienne. So welcome everyone. This is your 2020 virtual annual and leadership meeting town hall. So for the next 55 minutes, we'll be entertaining all of your questions. My name is Kelly Combat. I head up HR for INTA. I've been with the organization since last year, August 19. We've got Shannon on the line. Shannon is going to be operating as your host. Wave hi, everybody say hi to Shannon. She'll be our host today, moderating everything, and I'll be acting as the person that will be fielding your questions, although you should be sending in the chat your questions directly to Shannon. So that way we have one person is, as your point of contact to receive all of your questions. And there are no questions that Etienne won't answer. So word to the wise, send your questions to Shannon. A couple of other notes to keep in mind. If you have your line that is not muted, please make sure to do so. I think we're all kind of used to Zoom by now, but Shannon will be checking that out in case we have some background noise. Another thing that you need to know is that we will be recording, and I think we already started that just now. So without further ado, we have Etienne.
Thank you very much, Kelly, and thanks everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. Buenos días o buenas tardes, porque veo que hay muchos latinos también que participan en la llamada. Thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us. The idea really is to take you through what will be the virtual annual and leadership meeting, and really to answer any questions you might have. And as Kelly was just saying, there are no silly questions. We're happy to take any questions. This is also a great opportunity to get input from you, to get some kind of feedback, and we definitely welcome that. So perhaps you're going to allow me to start by, sharing my screen, and please let me know if that works. Can I get a thumbs up, or Kelly, is that working? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, yes. Perfect. All right, so let me perhaps start, and when you will get into the virtual annual meeting, this is what you're going to be getting. You'll be in a virtual lobby, and you'll have a navigation bar with lobby, sessions, networking, hospitality area, and partners. And in addition to that, you'll see on the top right side your profile that you'll be able to edit and a help desk function. So let's jump directly into the sessions. Let's imagine you want to follow any of the sessions. You're going to be able to search the content per day and per track. This is something new this year. We're trying to structure our content per tracks just to give you guidance on the topics we're going to be talking about. So there's going to be a track on brands around the world. We're going to be talking about filing and prosecution. There's going to be a track on anti-counterfeiting and enforcement. There's going to be a track on diversity and inclusion. There's going to be another one on how to manage brands in times of crisis, in plural. And there's going to be one as well on how to continue advancing your careers. On top of that, we're going to have as well a China track in China time. And one of the days we're going to have a track dedicated more specifically to Asia in an Asian time. And in addition to that, we'll have a full set of workshops that will be available. All the sessions are going to be available either live or on demand. So you're going to have keynote sessions live, you're going to have breakout sessions live, and all the content will be available on demand. Both the 2 weeks the platform is going to be available, but even after that, up to the end of the year. So let's imagine, for example, we decide to go into one of the breakout sessions. That's basically what you're going to see. So you'll be in a kind of theater, and within that theater, you'll see the main screen with the presentation. You'll have the faces of the presenters, and you'll have a chat function that will allow you to interact with the speakers. And of course, on both sides, there might be sponsorship opportunities for those of you who are interested in sponsoring the event. Now, as important as the educational sessions, of course, is the networking. And in fact, we know that for 90% of the attendees to the meeting, networking is the #1 priority. So this year, we're trying to organize networking in a kind of different way. First of all, we're going to have the table topics. We'll have 150 plus table topics on legal substantive issues. But on top of that, we're going to have more than 50 table topics that are going to be moderated by corporate members. And the idea behind those table topics is that corporate members will introduce a topic that is relevant to them or to their companies, and they will open the floor for discussion. So this is a great opportunity to interact with corporate members and to interact with other members in a kind of, limited group, because those table topics are going to be 10 to 12 people, and they're going to be on specific topics. We will have as well table topics moderated by IP offices from around the world, so that there is this opportunity of interaction between IP offices and our members. But in addition to that, we will continue having speed networking, as we've done in prior meetings in person, and as we've been doing virtually over the past 3 months. I know that some of you had a chance to participate into speed networking, and I think the experience was really good. We were totally sold out. This is something that we'll continue offering during annual and leadership meetings. But in addition to that, something new is what we call the one-to-one meetings, and this is going to be an AI-empowered matchmaking app. So basically, when you enter into the virtual meeting, you'll go into your profile, and if you're interested, you're going to sign in for that. You're going to define your preferences, and the app will match you with people who have similar preferences to you. And then from there, you'll be able to engage with them via email and then via face-to-face meeting. And last but not least, we'll have plenty of social networking opportunities. You can see here experiences, meetups, wellness, sports, tastings. So we might have some yoga classes, or we might have some mental health sessions, or we might have some wine tasting, just to give you a few examples. Now, in addition to networking, and somehow as part of networking, is the hospitality area. As you can see here, you're going to have both corporate meetings and associate meetings. So under corporate meetings, we plan to have as many corporations as possible to hold their large meetings with external counsels within our platform, within a secured environment. We've been in touch already with many corporations, and a very large majority of them has agreed to organize and celebrate their meetings within our platform. And of course, only those people who are registered to the meeting will be able to access the meetings. Just to give you an idea, let's imagine you're an external counsel. You're going to get into that section. You'll see all the corporate meetings that are available. And when you click into those meetings, you'll only be able to access the meeting for which you've been invited. If you haven't been invited to that meeting because you're not an external counsel of this company, of course, you will not be able to join that meeting. And like the corporate meetings, the associate meeting space is going to be a set of hospitality hubs for those firms that want to have their own space within the virtual environment. And of course, last but not least, we have our partners. These are the exhibitors and the sponsors. So let's, for example, imagine that we go into a virtual hall. This is basically what you would be getting. So let's imagine here we are at the Silver Pavilion. You will see all the different exhibitors who are silver. And let's imagine you decide to click on one of those. So basically, you'll get into a virtual booth. You'll have the logo of the company that will take you within their website. You'll have a main screen with their offerings, what they want to promote. And in addition to that, as part of the navigation, you'll see their services, their teams. You'll be able to make appointments. And last but not least, you'll be able to request and have video meetings with the exhibitors. And finally, similar to the virtual booth, this is the layout of the virtual hospitality suites. So as you can see, it's pretty similar to it. So that's basically how the current, virtual annual and leadership meeting environment looks like. This, of course, is a mock-up, but the main features will be very similar to this one. I'm going to probably stop sharing so that I can see the faces of everyone. So that's basically the virtual environment as it looks at the moment. A few things that I would like to share with all of you before we open the floor for questions is that the platform is going to be available 2 entire weeks. It's going to be live on the week of the 16th to the 20th of November. And this is for all live educational sessions, plus all networking activities. But even the week before, from the 9th to the 13th, we're going to have the meetings between corporations and their external counsels. That's going to be on the 9th, 10th, and 11th, so Monday through Wednesday. We're going to have on 10th, 11th, and 12th, so Tuesday to Thursday, all committee meetings. And on Friday, the 13th, all of you who qualify to attend leadership meeting will have the leadership meeting day. And in addition to that, during all those days, both first and second week, there's going to be different networking opportunities that will take place. A couple of additional things I would like to mention to you is that, again, all the content is going to be available both live and on demand. And that's a big difference with any prior annual meeting. When you go to the annual meeting, you spend most of your time networking, and you don't really have a chance to go to the educational sessions. Well, this year, for the first time, if you don't have time to go into the educational sessions, you're going to be able to see those afterwards, because all the content is going to be available on the platform, at least until the end of the year. Now, in terms of registration, registration will open for the membership at large as of next Monday. And there is an early bird of 6 weeks until August 21st. The reason why we have an early bird is to somehow promote an earlier access to some of the live sessions. We might have some capsule keynotes that might be in a town hall format. We cannot have 1,000 people asking questions to a director of an IP office, for instance. So we might limit that to 150 or 200 people. And the first who will be registered will have a chance to participate into these kind of meetings. Also, as a kind of, incentive for early bird, of course, there is no access to hotels this year because the meeting is going virtual. However, the first 1,500 registrants will get preferential access to hotels in 2021 in San Diego. And last but not least, because I know this is important for many of you, we decided with the support of the board of directors to put in place some packages to somehow support larger participation from both companies and firms. So basically for the corporate members, every 3 paid, you get 1 additional free registration. So if you bring 6, you would get 2 free registrations. And for the associates, every 5 paid, you get 1 additional free registration. So let's imagine that you were to bring up to 10 people, you would get 2 free registrations. What is important to note as well in terms of pricing, because I know this is extremely important for all of you, is that this year it's a totally flat fee. You pay $7.50 early bird or $8.50 regular, and you won't have to pay any additional fee for table topics, for workshops, or whatsoever. And if you think that the platform is going to be live for 2 entire weeks, that basically means that it's a cost of $75 per day, which is almost the same, a little more than a single table topic back in 2019 or 2018. I'm going to probably pause here, Kelly, and start, taking questions, because I'm sure there are a lot of questions from all of you. And once again, we welcome every question, every comment, because that's really very helpful for us to continue enhancing what we pretend to be a great virtual and annual meeting altogether. So Kelly,
Absolutely.
all yours.
Thank you, Etienne. Great overview. And I know everybody's really chomping at the bit to ask your questions. And I see that there are some that are already rolling through. This first question says, this is very impressive. Thank you for the mock-ups. I was looking at the schedule and wondered what a capsule keynote was. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So let me, I don't know, Shannon, do you have the presentation available so that we can look at, what would be the schedule, or do you want me to find it quickly? Because I think that's something that we would like to share with you.
No, I have it.
You have it? So you can put it on screen, that would be great. In the meantime, I'm going to respond to the question, what is a capsule keynote? Well, a capsule keynote is a keynote that is spanning, it's a shorter keynote. It's, 30 minutes. And we expect to have, during the days of live sessions, so November 16th to 20th, we expect to have 2 keynotes per day on average. One might be really as a keynote doing a 30-minute speech. Another one might be more in a kind of interview format. And this is, by the way, I hope you can see that, this is somehow the grid for the week of November 16th to the 20th. So this is, you know, the annual meeting part of the meeting. And by the way, all this information is already available on our website. So if you go into the revamped website and you look at the grid, you'll be able to find this information. So as you can see, on a daily basis, from the 16th to the 20th, we're kind of starting with a kind of general session. So it might be the opening ceremonies on day 1, or it might be more a kind of town hall format, starting every day kind of from 9:30 to 10:30 or 11. And from there, we're going to go into normally 2 sets of concurrent sessions, as well as some capsule keynotes. And in addition to all that, you see several networking opportunities. So let me just show that to you on a daily basis. As you can see, speed networking will happen from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a regular basis during that time. In addition to that, we'll have 2 slots for social networking, one 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning, and another one 7 to 8 p.m. in the afternoon. We will have as well corporate meetups for our corporate members only. And last but not least, we'll have 2 slots for table topics between 11 to 12 and from 6 to 7 p.m. every day. Again, in building this program, what we've tried to develop is providing all the members as much flexibility as possible, in the sense that you can decide to attend the opening ceremony, and then you're going to jump into a table topic, and then you're going to go into a social networking. And in between, you might go to a live session, or you're going to reserve yourself for doing your own business, and you'll be able to digest this content on demand whenever you like. Shannon, can we go to the prior slide, which shows the week before, if you have it available?
Hold on 1 second. Let me just stop sharing. I'll get it right over to you.
Okay, perfect. So that was a long answer to your question, Kelly, just to explain what a capsule keynote is.
There you go.
All right, so this is the week prior to the week of November 16th to the 20th. And I was mentioning to you before, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, these would be the reserved days for meetings between corporations and their external counsels. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be the committee meeting days. And finally, Friday the 13th would be leadership meeting day. And as you can see as well, on each of those days, there are different networking opportunities: speed networking, table topics, social networking. Of course, we're not incorporating into this the spontaneous networking that might happen within the platform, or the one-to-one meetings that will happen through the AI-empowered matchmaking app, because this is in addition to. And perhaps last but not least, this is the state of the art as of today, but we're permanently working to incorporate more networking opportunities to provide the members with as much networking as possible.
Okay. So Etienne, this next question has to do with table topics, and it's actually a 2-parter. How many people will be allowed in a table topic, and when that table topic list, when is it going to be available so that everybody can look over in terms of registration prior to actually attending?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, table topics are not going to work differently from prior years, in the sense that normally within a table topic, you used to have between, let's say, 10, 15 people. This time, we're going to probably cap the table topics at 12, because we're positioning the table topics as a networking opportunity. And one of the things that we've learned over the past months is that networking works when it's in small groups and when it's focused. And this is why we're, precisely positioning the table topics in such a way. Just to give you an example, We had our first ever virtual conference 2 weeks ago. We still call it the New York conference because it was initially planned to take place in New York. We had a lot of networking opportunities there, and those of you who had a chance to participate can probably echo that. But you know, the feedback we got was extremely positive from the members, and they did agree that, you know, the networking opportunities did work well. They just wanted more of them. And I had myself the opportunity to participate in a few of those networking sessions. And it was, again, small groups on a specific topic. It worked really well, to the point that we're all looking at our watches by the end of the table topic or the networking opportunity saying, oh, time has already gone. What a shame. So I think this is working really well. In terms of when are we going to make the table topics available to all of you, I think it's going to be by the end of July, because we're still building, you know, all the sessions and all the program for table topics. But I would prefer Peg to answer that question for me.
Thanks, Etienne, and hi, it's nice to see everyone today. We're going to be launching pre-registration for table topics, speed networking, and maybe some social on July 29th. And everyone will need to pre-register for all the networking before the meeting. Unfortunately, you won't be able to come into the platform on Monday, November 9th and start to sign up for things. You will need to pre-register. It's really important so that you can have access to what you've chosen.
Thank you, Peg. Thank you, Etienne. Now, Peg, will the table topics be available on demand?
No.
No. Okay.
It's truly a networking experience, and it's meant for the 12 people in that room with their moderator to have a discussion and to meet each other. So it will be only for those 12 people.
Correct. Okay. So regarding the matchmaking ability, exactly how will that work? So this person wants to know, how can industry vendors that may not fit a regular category be ensured that they will be a good match within the software in terms of the AI?
All right, absolutely. So first, you know, I'm going to perhaps make you laugh a little, but this comes from the dating industry. And so basically, you know, we're taking advantage of the technology from the dating industry, and we're applying that to our own industry. So the idea is very simple. It's basically, you know, when you get into the platform for the first time, you should go into your profile, and you're going to be able to identify what your preferences are, what are your areas of interest. And the AI app will be able to match you with people who have similar areas of interest. And from there, you're going to get a list of suggested contacts, and you're going to be able to agree or disagree to those, like you do with any kind of LinkedIn invitation. And if you decide to accept, you know, this suggestion, you're going to be able to move a step further and start exchanging emails with that person. And if from there you decide that you want to have a face-to-face meeting via the platform, you'll be able to do it. So basically, it's very similar to what's happening today with, you know, all kind of apps, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's LinkedIn, or whatever.
Okay, thank you. So this is a scenario that this person wants to know. This person says, I understand the registration fee covers both the leadership and annual meeting. Usually registration for leadership meeting was for committee members. So what happens if someone wants to attend the conference but is not a committee member? Will he or she be allowed to attend LM as well?
Well, that's a great question. And no, we're, you know, developing, you know, the security levels that are required so that only those who qualify for leadership meeting will be able to attend the leadership meeting sessions, which are the ones that will take place on Friday, November 13th.
Okay, thank you. So obviously we're a global organization, and I know this question, Etienne, it comes up a lot about the time zones and things to that nature. So this person wants to know about their main concern being the time zones. Is this meeting going to be 24 hours? And Etienne, can you provide more details to accommodate us globally?
So it's really up to you whether you want to be 24 hours in front of the screen. I would definitely not recommend that, but, you know, potentially you could do that, because basically you're going to have live content for a few hours, and you're going to have content available on demand that you're going to be able to digest, from the very moment that it has been placed on the platform. Now, if you look at the grid we just showed you and that is available on the website, you'll see that for the days of annual meeting, which is November 16th to the 20th, the live sessions are normally for about, let's say, 4 to 5 hours, starting 9:30 East Daytime and going up to 1:30 on average. Now, why did we decide to choose this kind of time zone? Well, basically, we're trying to support as many of our members as possible. If you take 9:30 East Daytime, it's 6:30 Pacific Coast, it's 3:30 Europe, it's 5 Dubai, the Middle East, it's 7:30 or 8 Delhi, and it's going to be 9:30 China. So basically, someone would be able to attend the live sessions and the networking within acceptable hours. It might be that some people, might not be able to do the first hour in the very morning or the last hour at night. But again, all the content is available on demand. And if you look at the networking opportunities, you see that in most of the cases, there are at least 2 different time slots to accommodate as many people as possible. And again, in addition to that, on Wednesday, there is 2 sessions that are taking place, 2 tracks that are taking place at the same time. There is the more international one, and there's going to be one dedicated to China in Mandarin in China time. And the same applies on Thursday, where we're going to have specific sessions for our Asian members.
So regarding the cost of the platform, this person wants to know how much is the virtual conference going to cost INTA, and is the platform going to be available beyond the annual leadership meeting?
Yeah, this is a great question. Well, let me tell you that it's a very significant cost for the association. But again, we don't see it as a cost, we see it as an investment. And this is a technology that has come to stay with us. We do not expect, or we hope that, future meetings will be able to go back to in-person meetings. But even if that's the case, we really envisage that in the future, we might have more kind of hybrid meetings where, let's say, 80%, might be in person, but there might be a 20% that might become virtual. And if you ask me, what are the great advantages of, being forced to go into a virtual environment? Well, first, we're going to have people from all around the world who are going to be able to participate at a lower cost. That's a very significant benefit for them. And the other one is, compared to an in-person meeting, you're going to have all the content that is going to be available on demand, at least up to the end of the year, if not beyond. Now, how long are we going to keep the platform open for the benefit of the members? We're definitely looking into the end of the year. We might even extend that depending on, the request from the members.
Okay, thank you. Now, when you think about technology, we've all gotten used to that. I've heard it so many times, the new normal, but I don't know if there's another phrase to call it, but we're all getting used to the technology of things, and we've been on Zoom meetings and virtual meetings. How exactly is this conference going to work? How do I access it? And what is it going to look like for me technically? What kind of system do I need?
Great question. So technically, you won't need anything else than what you just needed to enter this meeting or this town hall. So basically, you need a strong Wi-Fi connection, and you need to have either your laptop or your PC or your tablet or your mobile device. And with that, you're going to be able to participate into the meeting and be in absolutely all the sessions. So from a tech perspective, it's pretty easy. Now, in terms of the meetings themselves, there are different, technologies. It can be Zoom professional meetings. It can be GoToMeetings, WebEx. It might be Microsoft Teams. But again, we're building a platform. We're integrating solutions because we want to be as flexible as possible, as seamless as possible in terms of the experience. And we want the different companies and firms to feel comfortable with the technology they're going to be using. But again, as a single user, just strong Wi-Fi connection and your device, and a big smile.
So what happens, Etienne, if perhaps there isn't enough?
So this is, for example, what I was just mentioning before about having a good Wi-Fi connection. This is exactly what I was not having, so I didn't get your question. So if you can repeat it, Kelly, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And actually on my end, I just got a blurb that said my mine is unstable. So I'll repeat.
Okay, so it was you this time, not me, because we had the similar situation this morning and that was me.
Yes, yes. So the question is about low attendance. So is there any possibility that if in fact we didn't have enough signups in terms of registration for the annual leadership meeting in November, is there any possibility that this meeting would be canceled?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, first, we expect a big attendance to the meeting. And the indications we got, I mean, first, from the corporate members, we got a massive response in terms of, them participating and being active during the meeting. I took myself probably around 50 calls over the last couple of weeks. And I would say that 95% of the corporations have responded to me that they will be participating and that they will be bringing at least the same number of people as in any prior meeting. And in some cases, to be honest, those companies are saying that because we've reduced our prices, because they don't have any kind of travel and accommodation, they're bringing even more people. So we have several corporations that are taking advantage of the packages. Normally would bring, let's say, 2 people, they're bringing 4. We even have some companies, there are at least a couple of them that said to me, we normally bring 2, we're gonna bring 10 people this year. So that's our first point. Second point, we do expect a significant increase in participation from Asia, because quite often it's not easy for Asians to travel either to Europe or to the US. This year, thanks to the virtual environment, we do expect a significant participation on their side. And again, even if we didn't have a significant attendance to the meeting, which will not be the case, we would still keep the meeting going for several reasons, because we're absolutely convinced that this is a technology that we'll continue using in the future. And the sooner we get used to this technology, the better. By the way, very recently, there was an oral hearing at the US Supreme Court that was virtual. And more, you're being forced to engage with your counterparts, with your clients through this virtual environment. So this is just the natural evolution, the natural consequence of that. We're even taking doctor's appointments virtually. Aren't we able to network and to follow educational sessions in a virtual environment? Of course we can.
Etienne, I'm going to have to steal that from you, the natural evolution. I think I'm going to use that now instead of new normal, because I'm a little tired of the new normal. So this next question is, speaking of Asia, how do we arrange meetings and have access to the China and Asia tracks that are on demand?
Well, I mean, you can access, any session that is on demand, no matter on which track it is. By the way, and I think I mentioned that before, the tracks are just to provide you guidance on what are the topics we're going to be talking about. So that doesn't mean that you have to follow a specific track. You can choose sessions from any track. You can, decide to, listen to all sessions or just a few of them. Following the China track, well, of course, the China track will be in Mandarin. The Asia track will be in English. So you're going to be able to follow those. I don't know, perhaps Dolores, China track, are we going to have some of the sessions both in Mandarin and English, or will it be just in Mandarin?
We're going to do it just in Mandarin. We're going to try that out this year. And then we'll have a whole nother day in Asia that's in English, which will accommodate more participants.
So unless you speak Mandarin, you will unfortunately not be able to follow the China track. But again, the concept of the China track is not to talk about issues in China. It's more about talking about issues, within the rest of the world adapted to our Chinese audience. And this is why we're doing it in Mandarin. But if you want to know about what's going on in Asia, you're going to have that in the global track, and you're going to have that as well on the Thursday of the annual meeting, which, by the way, brings me to another issue which is extremely important. We're always talking about, the live sessions, but, we should not forget the importance of the workshops. We're going to have an anti-counterfeiting workshop. We're going to have a women leadership workshop. We're going to have an IP officers workshop. We're going to have a trademark administrators workshop. So, on top of the educational sessions, there are plenty of workshops that are taking place. And when we talk about officials, be it IP officers or enforcement officials, we do expect a very strong participation on their side as well.
And Etienne, you mentioned earlier, just to repeat your message about the workshops and table topics. I mean, all of that's included in that one flat fee, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
but there's limited seats in those things. So that's one of the reasons to sign up early, to not miss out, because they're not an additional fee, but there's only so many people, because they will all be interactive. And in fact, there are 2 women in leadership offerings. One will be in the US time zone and the other one in the Asia time zone. And the Women in Leadership Initiative is open to both women and men.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Dolores. So this next question is, how do we arrange meetings within the platform after the match mapping app has suggested candidate?
Well, again, it's, first, bear in mind that, we're building all this technology, we're integrating all these technologies, so we need additional time to continue developing that and being able to explain to you exactly how it's going to work, which basically means that, this is probably not the last time you're going to see us between now and the meeting, because we'll be organizing more town halls, more sessions to explain how the technology is going to work. But how is it going to work? Well, basically the same way you use LinkedIn, or you use FaceTime, or you use WhatsApp. You can always take, a FaceTime meeting with anyone. That's exactly the same way. The app will match you with people with similar preferences to you. You'll accept or decline those invitations. You'll get into an exchange of emails, and you'll set an appointment. And from there, you'll be able to set a face-to-face video meeting.
So Etienne, this next question is about feedback and how, the virtual meeting even actually came about. So it looks like this came through the chat. Was there any kind of survey or focus groups done from members, by members, of whether or not a virtual meeting was wanted, first of all, and what the appropriate cost would have been?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And yes, of course, we should never forget that we're a membership organization, and therefore, we're following the wishes and the needs of all of you, of our members. So basically, we did organize a survey, a set of brainstorming sessions with our corporate members, and we did have many conversations with associate members from around the world. And what was very interesting in terms of data is that 70% of the respondents told us that they were suffering significant budget constraints, no matter whether you're a corporation or you're a law firm. First point. Second point, nonetheless, these budget constraints, and on top of that, 80% of the respondents told us that traveling to an annual meeting this year was considered as non-essential. And if you now think about, the travel ban that is happening all over the world, it was totally unrealistic to have an in-person annual and leadership meeting. But at the same time, we got those two numbers, 70% budget constraints, 80% travel non-essential. Almost 100% of the respondents said that they wanted to still have an opportunity to network, to meet together, and to get educational content. And as a result of that, we presented a proposal to the board of directors to decide whether we wanted to either, keep, an in-person meeting with all the risks that would represent, or better go into a virtual meeting. And unanimously, the board of directors supported the idea of a virtual meeting. And again, I'm insisting on this idea. The virtual meeting is not something just for this year. It's something that somehow will continue in the future. Of course, nothing is going to replace a hug. Nothing is going to replace a glass of wine, a beer together, but virtual offerings will happen more and more. And it might very well be that, next year, we decide to have some of our conferences as 100% virtual. We just came out of, a virtual conference that was extremely successful. We had 250 participants in that conference, and all the feedback we got was very positive about it. Why shouldn't we take advantage of that? Again, if you think in terms of costs, let's take, for example, somebody coming from Asia. For someone coming from Asia to an annual meeting in North America, we're talking about between $8,000 to $12,000 US dollars. And probably that applies to many of the attendees from Latin America. Perhaps not the 13 or 12,000, but definitely within the 8, 10,000. Travel, accommodation, all the meals, registration to the meeting. If instead of that, you can still attend a meeting and participate in that meeting at a much lower cost, that's probably something that we should, keep in mind and continue doing.
And Etienne, that's a great overview, and thank you for the transparency in that explanation. And when you think about cost, is there any other insight that you can provide? Being very open here, very transparent. When you think about comparing and contrasting perhaps other associations, and when you line them all up, what is the INTA advantage in terms of our conference that's happening in November in terms of cost? Because if somebody were to say, what am I getting for the early bird pricing of the $750 versus another association?
Absolutely. Well, I think, there are many associations that are putting together some kind of programs. We've seen as well magazines doing that. And I think, all of those are great, programs and great initiatives. What is the greatest advantage of INTA? Well, it's the combination of education, networking, a virtual hall in a kind of unique way. And it's the massive participation from the members. That is what makes the success of the annual meeting. Now, if we take each of those elements individually, in terms of education, we're able to put together a program that is extremely comprehensive, that is very holistic, that is absolutely global in its content. And more importantly, we're going to be talking about, issues that are extremely relevant to all of us. We're talking about, managing your brands in times of crisis. And I'm saying crisis in plural. This is not just COVID-19. Over the past 20 years, we've had at least 4 major crises that had a huge impact on the IP industry, on the management of IP portfolios. Well, what we're trying to do at this annual meeting is we're trying to extract conclusions from, all these crises and what have we learned from that and what can we learn for the future. But also we have a track that is going to be about, advancing your career. And it's what, some people call soft skills. And it's again, perhaps, getting trained on how to handle this kind of, virtual environment and virtual meetings, how to network virtually. I mean, all these are, content that are somehow different to what is already available out there. So that's education. When we talk about networking, I'm going to be very candid with you. We've been interviewing probably between 10 to 12 different vendors to choose our partner in this journey. And all of them were pretty good at offering educational content. However, very few were strong enough in terms of networking. And this is why we've been declining vendor after vendor. And we finally decided to go with a vendor that is providing us with a platform where we're going to be integrating different solutions. Remember the question we got before about, what is the cost of the platform? It's a significant investment, but it's a significant investment because we absolutely know that networking is critical for most of our members. And we want to provide you with a good networking experience. And last but not least, we know that, for many years, we've had great sponsors and exhibitors. And we know that out of the 10,500, there's a good 3,000, 4,000 that go through the exhibition. We need to keep that going. And that's exactly what we're doing. That is different from any other organization. And this is why we're convinced that, we'll make it a success altogether.
Sounds very apples to oranges in terms of comparison as to what we're offering. Thank you, Etienne. This next question is, what does the corporate registration include? Table topics and what else? And is it the same price than an associate member?
Yeah, so all registrations are exactly the same, no matter whether it's early bird or regular price, so $750, $850. But you know, in terms of once you've paid either the early bird or the regular price, you'll have access to absolutely all the sessions, except those that are limited in terms of attendance. And this is why it's important to register as soon as possible. The only difference between corporates and associates are in terms of the packages that we're putting together. And as I said before, for the corporates, every 3 paid registrants, they get 1 free registration. For the associates, it's every 5 paid registrants, they get 1 additional free registration. The rationale behind it is to somehow promote the idea of you bringing to the meeting people who might not have a chance to attend, either junior associates or paralegals, or people who normally would not be able to make it to attend an annual meeting.
And with respect to workshops, there's an in-house practitioner workshop that's in-house only, and the anti-counterfeiting workshop is government officials and in-house practitioners, like in past years, again, without an additional cost to in-house practitioners to attend. And just to underscore, we do have an in-house practice and strategy track, and that is open to everyone, but it kind of gives everybody kind of a bird's eye view of the issues that are impacting in-house counsel. So it is relevant for both the in-house practitioner as well as our other members.
Thank you, Dolores. Thanks, Etienne. Is it possible that I can be an exhibitor or sponsor this meeting? And what will it cost?
Yes, absolutely. So any questions from exhibitors and sponsors, we would be very happy to put you in touch with Paula Lee, who's the person responsible for that. But absolutely, we're going to have a virtual hall. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for sponsors. And I would even go further. You know, this is the first time where everyone is going to go through the same channels, through the same corridors. When you go to an in-person meeting, sometimes there are people who don't even come to the convention center because they have meetings outside. This time, everybody's going to go through the platform. So to me, it's a unique opportunity for sponsors. And the same applies to exhibitors. And this is one of the reasons as well why we decided to, you know, open the platform for 2 entire weeks so that everyone can start, you know, getting used with the platform, play with the platform, and perhaps engage with sponsors or exhibitors anytime, both the week of 16th to the 20th, but also the week before from the 9th to the 13th.
It's a great idea to get used to the platform and really see all the bells and whistles and kick the tires a little bit. This next question, going back to table topics, is when do the table topics go live?
So I think the question, again, you might have had some, Wi-Fi issues. The question is when the table topics will go live. Yeah.
Correct.
So basically, as we mentioned before, we're putting all the table topics together. And by the end of July, we'll have, you know, the table topic offering available so that people can register on table topics.
Okay. So it looks like I don't have any other questions. Anything else, Shannon? No?
That's it.
Okay, it looks like,
I think
yes,
there
I
was
don't
a
have
question.
anything else coming through.
I see, excuse me, Kelly. I see Marshall willing to ask a question. You would have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I had a question. I tried to get into the chat. I'm sorry I couldn't. Will there be an 800 number like that we can call for technical assistance?
Yes, so I don't know whether it's going to be an 800 number, but absolutely. And as we showed you on the platform, there's going to be a help desk function that is going to be working 24 hours. So you will never have an issue with, you know, technical problems. That's one of the selection criteria we had with the vendor. We wanted to make sure that we have a very strong support team. So you should not be worried about that.
Will they be operating like real time if we send them an email?
Yeah,
we get
they will be operating real time. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And by the way, that's a great question, Marshall, and it allows me to again, insist on the fact that, you know, we had a very, very strict, a very detailed due diligence exercise in choosing our vendor. And in fact, you know, we've chosen a vendor that is both a kind of tech company, but also a producer of virtual meetings. It's a company that has been doing that for more than 20 years, and they know their business really well. And just for you to understand how this industry is evolving, last year, talking to one of the vendors, they told us that they organized around 250 meetings in a year. This month of April alone, they had already organized 300 meetings, virtual. So it's booming in terms of, you know, technology and industry. But again, within those, you know, there are some who are clearly market leaders, and we decided to go with the market leader to make sure that we have the best technology to support the event.
Thank you for your question, Marshall. Great question. One last question, Etienne. Will there be an app for this meeting?
Okay, so great question. There will not be an app because basically you're going to be able to access the content and access the platform via your PC, your laptop, your tablet, your mobile device. So what would be the point of having an app? Basically, that would mean that you would have to get out of the platform to get into the app, and that doesn't make sense. We want to provide the most flexible and the most seamless experience, and that's a kind of, you know, unique place where you're going to find all the content. And Kelly, I saw Carmen Arana, who was willing to ask a question. So if you can unmute yourself, happy to take your question. I think you're still muted, Carmen.
Excuse me. It's okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. You listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this leadership meeting, I found the same table topics to Singapore or different table topics?
Great question. So you're going to find both the same and different. So basically what we're doing is we're combining some of the table topics that were initially planned for Singapore. And in addition to that, we're creating new table topics because a lot has happened between Singapore and now. And this is why we can have as well corporate moderate table topics, and we can have table topics that are going to be moderated by IP offices. And again, bear in mind that, you know, this is the 4th annual meeting that we're building in a given year. We started with Singapore, then we're supposed to go to a place in the US end of May, beginning of June. Then we announced Houston, and finally we decided to go virtual, which is probably the wise decision and the safest decision we could take. But that means also that in terms of content, you know, a lot has happened in Singapore. You know, at the time we were planning for the Singapore annual meeting, no one was really talking seriously about the pandemic. And no one was talking about an economic, yeah, perhaps a recession, but not a crisis like the one we're having. So these are the issues we need to talk about now. And this is why we're kind of, you know, just readjusting our program. And I really want to, you know, thank the education department, but also the project team who's really helping us, you know, enhancing our program and developing, you know, new content for the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Etienne, no more questions. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, well then, you know, thank you, everyone. Thanks for, you know, taking the time to listen to us. We hope we're gonna see you all at the annual meeting. And please, if you have any questions, any comments, just, you know, send an email to Trisha, to Peg, to Dolores, to myself. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. We're updating the frequently asked questions section on our website on a regular basis, and we'll continue having these kind of town halls so that you get a better understanding of the meeting. The mock-ups we showed you today are already available on the website, so you should be able to see the virtual environment, but also the virtual grid, bearing in mind that this is still a mock-up and there might be changes that happen, but, you know, the concept will definitely be the same. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for all. Thank you, Tian.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.